Okay, so our official recording has started for our week 2 GoTo training virtual session. I want to welcome everybody that is here with us again. I know that we were chatting a little bit before I started this recording, and I know that there's several of you in here that have not yet attended our GoTo training sessions with us. So we're going to take the first few minutes just to review the GoTo training dashboard and control panel, make sure that you know what buttons go to what and how to kind of interact with us while you are in the virtual session with us today. So you have a control panel that should be up on your screen. Towards the bottom of the control panel, there is a chat box that you can type into. It seems like everybody from our conversations prior to the recording has figured out how that works, but let's just test it and make sure. So if you found your chat box, you're going to type in the message PYP rocks. So go ahead and give me that in your chat box when you have located it towards the bottom of your control panel. Awesome. Looks like we're getting the hang of it. Very good. Okay, and then we're going to also test the capabilities for us to virtually raise our hand. And also, if there's ever a time where you want to speak, right now all of our microphones, except for mine, are muted just for background noise purposes to avoid that, any echoes or things like that. So I do want to make sure, though, that you know where that is. So you should see towards the left hand of your control panel a little icon that looks like a recording microphone. If you see that, go ahead and just give me a yes in your chat box. Perfect, perfect. I'm getting a lot of yeses. That's awesome. All right, and then let's test raising our hands. So the hand icon should be right there near the, the microphone icon as well. So let me know when you see that. Go ahead and just push on that and raise your hand for me. Make sure everybody's is working and you know how to locate it. I'm waiting for Quan. And that might just be a connectivity thing, but everybody else looks good. All right, awesome. So I lowered the hands there. So we spoke a lot in class over the last couple days, a little bit about our flow and positive psychology. So I want to start with any questions that we have. Today is going to be a little more interactive. Those of you that joined us last time asked for maybe some videos, maybe even a poll. So we're going to use that to lead our session today. And I want to start off with any questions before we do that about the actual content to make sure that we're all on the same page. So any questions about anything we've talked about so far in class, you can either raise your hand and talk to us, or you can type it in the chat box and I will repeat it to make sure that everybody saw and can hear your question, especially for those that will be joining us with the archived version. Valerie asked, can I ask a question about the assignment? I will actually do questions about the assignment once we're done with the stuff for today. Yeah, so stick around towards the end and we'll go from there. Okay, same thing with the teams. Anything that has nothing to do with the actual content, we will review a little bit towards the end of our session. No problem at all. Any questions in regards to the content that we've talked about so far for this week? No? So we're like positive psychology flow expert gurus, right? Like we've got this under control. We feel like we understand it. Heck yeah, I see a heck yeah. Okay, good. Good. That's what I like to see. So we're going to review that a little bit today. I'm going to share some videos with you that we didn't get to show in class, just to kind of allow us to see a different side of what we were discussing, and to give you guys a little bit of fun while we're in here on the day that we don't see you for class. So I have about a 5-minute video that kind of talks us through what positive psychology is. So I put that link in the chat box, and for those that are going to be joining us in our archive session, I will be including that link with our link to the session itself, so no worries. But go ahead and take a look, and then once you have watched that video, then come back and give me a hand raise. That way I know that you are ready to move on. Okay, it looks like we're starting to finish up, but we will wait for everybody. Don't forget to give me just a hand raise using your hand icon as soon as you are ready to come back. All right, looks like everybody has made their way back. So what I'd like to do is kind of ask you all what stood out to you guys in that video, and I'd like to get you to raise your hand and test out your microphone and talk to us a little bit. So what was something that we've been talking about in class, and then you watched this video and just really resonated with you? All right, Isaiah, you have the floor, my friend.
Basically, the view of positive psychology compared to like negative psychology, thinking about things
Sure.
as far as what is right with you compared to the traditional like, oh, here's what's wrong with you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's a very optimistic way of thinking compared to thinking the other way. It helps you have more of a positive focus, I would say.
Sure. Okay, Miranda agrees with you. She said the same thing stood out to her. So, I mean, imagine the power of what Isaiah just explained to us, right? If we start to kind of think about all these things that um, are right with us, right? And that we can kind of zone in on and help us to empower our world and to make us feel alive and confident and strong, right? Instead of always kind of focusing on the opposite. Although positive psychology does focus on that in a grander scale in terms of clinical, right? I want you guys to think about it on a personal level, okay? And one way that we can do that is by kind of applying what we know to be the Perma Model, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, which I know has been kind of mentioned a little bit here and there. So I'll mute Isaiah again. Thank you, Isaiah. That was a really good thing that you saw that stood out to you. And I'm going to unmute Skylar and give you the floor. So go ahead, Skylar.
Hey guys, yeah, so I kind of agree with that because the only psychologists that I've ever seen have been the ones that are like, all right, you know, what's wrong with you, and like I tell them what's like bothering me, and they're like, so let's talk about that some more, and I'm like, no, talk. This is the have
Oh, Skylar, I think.
something different. They're like, no, let's talk about what's bothering you.
Okay. Yeah, and I
What was
think you
that?
you cut out a little bit in the in between, but I think we heard what you said was is that you've had that experience as well, right? Where you'll go to speak to somebody and they kind of focus on what's bothering you and what's wrong and let's talk through that, and that kind of turned you off a little bit to everything.
Yes, it gets me all riled up when I talk
Yeah.
about the thing that is stressing me out so much.
Sure. Yeah. No doubt. Thank you for that. That was very personal, and I appreciate you sharing that. Um, anybody else have anything that kind of stood out to you? Okay, so Noelle said the fact that this type of approach could be utilized in our education and government is something that stood out to you in the form of an improvement. Sure, yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it. What I want to do is talk through a little bit about the Perma model. All right. So I'm going to put a poll up here, and if you've been reading a little bit and you know, kind of paying attention to what we've been discussing this week in class, this should be easy peasy. You should have no issues getting this answer and very quickly. So I'm going to put a poll out up to you guys, and all you have to do is click on the one that you think is the answer, and then click submit, and we'll see where that takes us. It's not meant to be hard, I promise. I have a few of you that still need to cast your vote. Okay, and I think we got everybody. All right, so you guys are awesome, and you are rock stars because everybody had the same answer, which, as we know, that acronym is PERMA, right? So can anybody, if you want to raise your hand and express that, or if you just want to type it in the chat box, kind of tell me what the P stands for in PERMA? Anybody remember? Yeah, you guys are good. All right, you're right. Positive emotion. So with this positive emotion, the P in PERMA gives us basically, you know, we're looking at 5 essential elements that could or should be in place for us to experience that lasting well-being, right? That perspective of, you know, what we can do and how we can focus on what's right and how to have happiness throughout. So the positive emotion aspect of PERMA really just says that for us to truly experience well-being, we need to have positive emotion in our life. All right. So any positive emotion, things like gratitude or satisfaction, hope, or you know, even inspiration could be an example that would fall into this category. And really what it's telling us is that it's important for us to enjoy ourselves, right? So focusing on the here and now, as long as the other 4 elements of PERMA are in place, then this is something that we should be able to experience fairly effectively and easily, and it should add to the activities or the people that are around us, okay? The E in PERMA, anybody want to take a guess? I think you guys are going to know because you've been on top of it so far. Yep, engagement, absolutely. So what this says is that engagement is one of the elements that helps us experience the state of flow. Okay, and when we're in that state of flow, we're genuinely engaged in a situation or an activity or a task. Okay, and so what happens in this state of flow is that time seems to stop. We lose basically our sense of self, and we're really in actuality just concentrating very intensely on that present moment. This should be something that feels really good to us. The more that we experience that type of engagement, that intense focus and concentration on the present, the more likely we are to experience lasting long-term well-being. All right. Isaiah typed in here a good question. What techniques can you use to stay engaged in activities you don't want to be engaged in? Isaiah, that's such a great question. And I think that could be difficult for a lot of people, right? If you have like a homework assignment or maybe a job that you know you have to be in at the moment, let's say to pay bills, or something maybe you're just not inherently attracted to, right? What I would do is try to build in elements that help you feel engaged, right? Like if it's a homework assignment that you're just not feeling, how can you turn that into subtasks that help you become interested, right? Maybe you create a game with yourself, like I got to get through these readings, but I am just really bored, or they're so long and I don't want to be a part of it. But you know what? I'm going to read this for 30 minutes, and then in 30 minutes, I'm going to do something for myself, right? Or if I do all of this, then I'm gonna do this afterwards, right? And so yeah, Skylar, that's actually true, right? Disney is always so good at capturing what we feel. So Skylar told us that Mary Poppins used to say, in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. I think I'm going to start to use that, Skylar, because you spoke to my teaching soul when you just said that. So you're absolutely right. So Isaiah, I would try to find those elements and build them into those things that you feel like maybe it's not there. Okay. The third aspect of PERMA is the idea of positive relationships. Okay, so as human beings, we are very social, and having those good relationships is kind of a foundation to our well being. So we see these people around us who have these meaningful or seemingly meaningful positive relationships with other people that they're surrounded by. And those tend to be the ones that will report that they feel happier than those that do not. So these types of relationships really can matter. And, feeling this with people can make a difference, right? If we're going through something really difficult, or maybe, something that has happened that turned a relationship personal or familial a different direction. Many of you may have noticed that it kind of affects your other relationships, or the ways that you work, right? It kind of affects your focus. Has anybody ever experienced that, or know what I'm talking about? Okay, good. Yeah. So kind of keeping those around us that inspire us and that make us feel good and that support us and encourage us, right, can really make a big difference. The M in PERMA, anybody want to take a guess? Yes, you guys are on fire today. Not literally, but figuratively speaking, of course. Yes, it stands for meaning. And this comes from something that we feel serves us, um, serves not us, but serves a cause that is bigger than us. Okay, so this could be anything from religion to a good deed that you feel helps humanity in some way, something that really gives you a sense of maybe helping other people. All right, we all kind of need whatever that meaning is in our lives to have a genuine sense of well-being, and it can vary from person to person. So, for a lot of students, and even for myself, when I first started trying to incorporate, more of the Perma model into my life, I had to really think about what that meaning was for me. It's not always religion, and it's not always the same. So we have to really dig deep and find what that is that serves a bigger cause to us. All right. And then the last one is accomplishment. And really, what this says is you might see it referred to different ways. It could be accomplishment, it could be achievement. And so in our readings, we use achievement. Okay. If you're doing some research on your own, you might see it called accomplishment, but it's one and the same. And so what this is kind of reflecting is that many of us strive to better ourselves in some way, right? Whether we're seeking to master some sort of skill, like maybe while you're here at Full Sail, or achieve, some sort of goal that you find valuable, or it could be even like in winning some sort of competitive event. Okay. This achievement, this accomplishment is another important thing that contributes to our ability to flourish, all right, our ability to feel genuine sense of well-being. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to strive to win everything. Okay, that's not necessarily what this means, but doing your best, right? So maybe you don't win the entire race, but maybe you set a personal record, or maybe you accomplish something that is new and overcoming for you, right? Maybe you've never run a 5K and just, maybe you finish in last, but finishing it is a huge achievement to you, and could be something that is very, very meaningful to your development and your mindset, and ultimately your happiness and well-being. So once you're aware of these elements that make up your well-being, instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to be happy today, right? Focusing on the elements of happiness, kind of lend to leading a more rich life for you, meaning not necessarily money, but meaningful, okay? We can't be happy all of the time, right? But we do need to make sure that we put things into place so that we can experience these positive, whether it's emotions or engagement, to lend towards our happiness and that perspective. And if you're not experiencing these things in your life, or you feel like maybe you're in a time that's really challenging, stop and think about why that is, and what can you put into place, or what can you work on to kind of get you back on track and back in the groove of everything. All right, identifying people or events, or even things that could give you enjoyment or pleasure, might help you kind of start to rewire how you look at things, or how you perceive what's going on in your world. All right. So positive emotion and positive psychology, yes, although originally started with a very clinical, and still is used, in a very clinical sense. I kind of want you guys to break it down and really think about how you can use this in your own world on a very personal level, to help you flourish and achieve those goals that you want to achieve, and do the things that you want to do. All right. I am going to put up another poll. All right. And this poll really is just to kind of launch us into a discussion relating to PERMA and kind of what our goals here are at Full Sail. So I'll launch the poll, and then we will talk about it as soon as you are done. Okay. So, wow, that was quite, I wish you guys could see on my end as you guys were answering. The breakdown is we had 93% of you who said, love my job. That's the one I would pick here. And the other one, 7% said rich. So I'd like to hear from you guys. Tell me kind of what your thoughts were when you saw that question. What made you sway one towards the other? And well, I'd love to also hear from you, because in the chat box you told us you wish there was an all of the above button. So I want to hear a little bit from you guys. Go ahead and raise your hand, and one by one we'll talk through this a little bit. All right, Isaiah, you have the floor, my friend.
I've had like a couple jobs that paid me well, where I held management positions, but
Mm-hmm.
dealing with overhead and not really liking what I did, it caused me more stress and it made me quit.
Okay.
Um, and so for the past 2.5 years, I've been, doing multimedia, and I don't get paid nearly as well as what I was getting, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't have as much stress and I don't go home with stress, so my life is more fulfilling.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good outlook. And gosh, like how lucky are you, or are we, to kind of sit and reflect on this stuff so soon in careers, right? Where we have the option to feel empowered to change that so early on, right? That's
Right.
awesome. Good for you. That's great. All right. And I'm going to mute you again, Isaiah. Nothing personal, my friend. All right. Syra, I will give you the floor. Kind of talk us through what was going on when you saw the question. Syra, are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Sierra.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't know you were talking to me. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. That's okay.
Um, so I originally went to UF
Mhm.
thinking I was going to go to medical school because I'm smart and I can make a lot of money that way. Yeah. And I remember this moment. It was my senior year, and I was studying for the MCAT, pulling my hairs out, totally stressed, crying, and I was talking to my boyfriend and now husband. And he said, Sierra, why are you doing this? Why? And I realized I would hate being a doctor. I'd be miserable, and
Yeah.
it's not worth it. So that's when I decided to take a journey to what do I actually want in life? What do I actually want to do?
Mm.
And film was the number one thing for me. And so me and my husband have made a lot of sacrifices
Mhm.
so that I could go to this school. And my husband also, in his job, he doesn't make a lot of money, but he loves what he does, and he would rather be doing what he is than anything that would make him more money. So we're both pursuing careers that don't make a lot of money, but we love what we do, and we're happy where we are. So.
Yeah, that's great. And, obviously, as you guys know, because we've spoken a lot about it, I am a huge fan of UFs, right? That's my alma mater, but things
Yeah.
are not always meant to be, and you weren't where you're supposed to be. But sometimes, maybe you needed to go through that to kind of have that moment of what am I doing, with my life? Like this is not what makes me happy. This is not what I want to do. And um, a lot of times I love to ask this question either in person or through a poll because um, a lot of the responses like Manuel's or like Sierra's, and I'm sorry for mispronouncing that, Sierra.
It's okay.
But, you know, sometimes it's like, well, can't I have both? Can't we have both? And the answer is, yeah, of course we can have both. If you're doing something you love and you're invested in and you feel like it pulls on your creativity and inspires you, you're going to be way better at that job and feel that passion, and that's going to come through in your work, right? So eventually it is a win-win for everybody, and that's the goal, is to find that balance, to find what you love to do and get paid and live off of that. Because money is great, and I'm the first one to tell you all, it's obviously the way that we live. But what fun is a mansion and the Ferrari or the whatever else you all want, or would like to have. I wouldn't complain about either. But what fun is all of that if you're just completely miserable in your worlds, right? So it really is something heavy to think about, but empowering to know that we at all times have kind of the power to zone in on that and figure out what it is that we really want. So thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. And you guys are right. I am going to grab my charger because good call. Laptop is on low. All right. So Isaiah said, what about the people that aren't able to have a job with what they love and have a job where they are miserable and poor? Yeah, Isaiah, sometimes we have to take those jobs, right? Sometimes we all have bills and these things happen. And so, finding a way to get that balance, right? Knowing that we go through hard times where sometimes that's a necessity. And then, once we get through that challenging time, being able to do what we love and get paid for it. Um, Valerie in the chat box said that what she's found is that if you find a job that you love, even if you don't make much, but can no longer do it because of injury, so you have to go back to the drawing board. Yeah, that can be very hard, Valerie, especially if you finally feel fulfilled, right? If you finally feel like you found what you want to do, that can be difficult. But knowing, again, like realizing that that's what it is everything that we're talking about today. Figuring out what those things are is half of the battle. And then, working hard to make it there and make it stick and make it work, no pun intended, is the goal, right? So, at the very least, at least we're able to be in our course and reflect on the things that we really want to accomplish that make us happy. And then, enacting Perma in our life to constantly work at that well-being and that long-lasting aspect. You got it, Manny. I completely understand. So Manuel does not want us to call him Manuel. He wants Manny because Manuel's his father. Totally understand. No problem. Okay, so in light of our positive psychology talks and how we can feel each element more in our life every day and kind of put that into action, I have a little video that's kind of a positive spin on everything, and I know that it's discussed a lot in our course and in our readings. You've seen the video reference, so I'm going to share with you all the video link to Kid President. And it's just kind of a pick-me-up because we are talking about some really personal things, and I kind of want you guys to get a perspective from him. So let me send that your way. Okay, here we go. So we're going to continue our conversation, but go ahead and watch this first, and then let's keep going with where we were. I took the slides off the screen just in case you noticed, all right? That way you can watch the video. All right, everybody, don't forget to give me a thumbs up whenever you are all done. Or not a thumbs up, sorry, a hands up. Sorry about that. Okay, just waiting on a couple more people. No, heads up, 7-Up. Skylar, you're not alone. Don't worry. All right, waiting on just a couple more people. I think everybody's almost back with us. All right, seems like we have everybody back, and I can kind of tell that our chat box has kind of turned into a what's heads up 7-Up. And if we stay on track this week, then, maybe we will start off our lecture tomorrow with a fun game of heads up 7-Up, and you guys can all see it in action. It's a pretty fun game. It's a oldie but a goodie. So that way there won't be any more what's the word, curiosity in regards to what that is. So all right, so we watched this video a little bit about our kid president, and the reason that I like to show it so much is because I want you all to kind of think about how this applies to you, and what your Space Jam is. And the cool thing is that I think that many of you have kind of already maybe figured that out, and that's hopefully why you're here at Full Sail, is to do what you love and surround yourself with the elements of that make you happy. But I'll be sending out the link, and I like to watch this every so often on the days that I'm maybe you're feeling defeated in your schoolwork, or you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It kind of just helps put a lot into perspective, and for us to understand that there are all of those elements of PERMA around us, and it's kind of up to us to recognize that, reflect on it, and then put it to action in our own lives. So I'll ask if there's any other questions about anything we did today, or watched or have discussed so far. Obviously, pending that after these questions, I'll go into discussing the assignment and teams and things like that. So this is just content related. I want to make sure that everybody's good, and doesn't have any other questions or concerns. So we're good? Awesome. Okay. So we will continue to record because I'd like for you all to ask any questions that you all have. I'll take questions first about the assignment. All right. So let me just change this for you real quick. And I'll ask for you guys to raise your hands, and I can call on you one at a time to ask whatever that is that you need clarification on in regards to our week 2 assignment. I know somebody, oh, there we go. All right, Maria, I have given you the floor. So, Maria, what questions do you have? Yes, Manny, this is about the happiness quest. So, Maria, go ahead. Should be able to talk through your microphone, Maria. Maria, can you hear us? You can go ahead and talk. I put your microphone live, so you can just say it out loud. I think Maria's having some technical challenges. So, Maria, if you want to just type it, your mic should be green because I unmuted you. But if you're having some issues with the mic, that's okay. Go ahead and just type it in the box, in the chat box, and I will answer it from there. All right. Alejandro, I didn't know if you wanted to type it or if you also want to just say it out loud. It's your choice. So I'll look for those questions in the chat box. Noelle asked, do you recommend a particular program to put together the happiness quest? I think it depends a little bit on, not your preference, but the way in which you are presenting the happiness quest could depend on the program. I've seen a lot of students use Prezi. I've also seen students put together like videos using iMovie. You could use your web tools programs as well. I think it just depends on preference. If it were me, I would probably choose one that maybe I haven't mastered yet, but I'd want to learn a little more about, since this class gives you a good opportunity to kind of experiment a little bit with different programs. As long as it's polished and it's professional, it gives you that flexibility to learn something new. So, I would choose one of the ones that you feel like you could do that with. No problem. Alejandro asked questions regarding the Perma action plan, how we have to do it. We have to write a text explaining how we'll use each element or how exactly. So yes, your Perma plan, you will want to make it very clear how each element of Perma, so the 5 different elements, are going to be something that you put into place moving forward for your lasting well-being. So it can be something that you answer along the way, or at the end, you can just outline, positive emotion and then explain that. Engagement and then explain that. So making it very clear how each one of the 5 are something that you've addressed that you are going to utilize moving forward to achieve lasting well-being. Alejandro, did that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Valerie then asked, how do you want us to put the email on the happiness quest? Are you wanting to see the email? Yeah, so you can, just take a screenshot of the actual body of it, and you can just upload that with your assignment, like as part of the visual component. If some of you have something in that email that maybe is really, really personal and you don't want to include that, just come and let us know and we can talk through it and talk through maybe some other options of how you can showcase what you sent or what the surrounding material of that email was and what meaning it had to you. That way you don't lose any points on the assignment. Okay. All very, very good questions. Maria, did you still have that question about the team? And if so, go ahead and just type it in there. I'm happy to answer it for you. Manuela asked, what other activities should we do with our teams? Is the happiness activity in teams? Okay, no. So your happiness activity is an individual assignment that you are going to put together on your own. In your teams, you should be doing some research to help you with your week 3 and eventually your week 4 assignments. Okay, so in your teams, you should be meeting, kind of talking through the content week to week, discussing that as a group, making sure that you understand it, and just using that discussion to open dialogue and to understand each other better, so that when you start to work on your week 3 assignment this upcoming week now, you guys are in a groove, you're in a flow, and you're able to kind of attack that assignment in that flow and make the deadline for that. And then so that, again, next week you can begin to work a little bit ahead for your week 4 assignment. Okay. Valerie asked, so are you not wanting this on pages, you're wanting a PowerPoint? Yes. We would prefer the happiness quest not in a Word document or anything similar. Make it creative, show your innovative side, make it visual, or incorporate some sort of audio elements to it as well. And then Skylar said, so we just talk about what is going on this week in the team discussion. Yep, absolutely. You can discuss course content. Your week 3 assignment is going to be open to you all now within the next several hours. So you can start to work on that as well and start to make a game plan for how you want to complete the week 3 work. All right. So for this week, that is all that you need to do for your teams, because next week you'll be submitting that week 3 assignment. And that's what you're going to be working on. And then next week you're going to be working on the week 4 stuff so that you can submit that by the deadline. You're absolutely welcome. Does that make sense to everybody? Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So any other questions that we have? Or how are we feeling? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling like we're ready? Isaiah, if you have an individual question, if you don't want to ask it to the group, you can type it just to me, and I'll be happy to answer that back just to you. No problem at all. So, Manuel, once your team has met this week, the question is, what do you do? So once your team has met this week and gone through all of those things we just discussed, you can go in and click that you have submitted, click like you've completed this activity. Once you guys have met and had that discussion and talked about your game plan for the assignment, you can go into your Full Sail portal and click, I've completed this. And Valerie asked if the Happiness Quest program or presentation has to be audio. No, not necessarily. It could just be visual. That would be fine. We had the question of, I can view the assignment for next week for the team research. Yes. So your week 3 assignment that will be due next week, you will be able to see it shortly. It should be open early to you all. That way you can start to work on that game plan and get going so that next week you're ready to submit it. All right, it looks like I'm just scrolling through here to make sure I didn't miss anything, but I think I was able to get to all of the questions, so I want to just make sure that we don't have any other ones. All good. Okay, folks. Oh, Olivia has a question. Olivia, I just unmuted you. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
With regards to the happiness quest,
Yes.
under the one where it says to spend quality time with a loved one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's technology free, for
Yes.
those of us that don't have a loved one within the US, is it okay if we Skype and take a screenshot? Would that count?
Yes, I would say, for that, I think we are able to allow that. As long as, it's like genuine time. You don't have to record it. You can just maybe take a screenshot of the moment when it's happening, and use that in your submission and then explain to us why, the technology was used. But just make sure that you really explain that to us, so that we know why you chose that. Why was it so meaningful for you to choose this activity as opposed to maybe another one?
Okay, great.
And
Thank
then,
you.
for that, I would leave the cell phones, anything that you don't need to have that actual moment. I would kind of, take that out of the session.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. Bye, Skylar. Have a great day. All right, everybody. Well, I think that concludes our session for today. As always, if you have any other questions or any concerns about anything, you are free to reach out to us via email, message, comments, via phone or iChat. And if nothing else, we will see you tomorrow afternoon for class, so you can catch us then as well. Don't forget to finish your readings and to be prepared before you come see us. Alrighty. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you for coming today and joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.